Hello and welcome back to season 2 of the podcast at the card table, where we discuss creation, practice, performance, and history with the greatest minds in Magic. I'm incredibly excited to let you know that this episode is also brought to you by MAGICBOX. They have all of your Magic needs covered, from the latest releases to absolute classics and all of the extras you could possibly need to keep you going. Make sure to check them out and use code PATCT at the checkout. That is PATCT at checkout for 10% off your next order. Until then, on with the episode. Today's guest is an actor, model, presenter, journalist, and magician who has recently taken the magic industry by storm, with performances on both AGT and BGT, as well as performing in a sellout off-Broadway show and fooling Penn Teller with her perfect ACAAN, all while studying drama and getting a degree in multimedia journalism. How on earth do you fit it all in? It is, of course, the incredible Emily Robinson Hardy. How are we doing today, Emily? You are?
I am very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. Slowly melting, but good nonetheless.
Yeah, I think we all are in this.
With this 1 week of summer that we've had in the past 10 years is just like unnecessary heat wave, but
yeah, it's not British are not built for this kind
we
of
complain when
climate.
it's warm, we complain when it's cold. It's what the British do best.
We're British.
Perfect. We're going to jump all the way back to when this all started, and we're going to ask, why magic and how did you get into it?
So I've always sort of really been interested in magic. My brother got a Marvin's Magic kit for his birthday when he was younger, and I was just really fascinated with the kit and sort of working through things really slowly, trying to work out how a coin could possibly sit at the bottom of a pot, and you could poke these little needles through and work out how that could possibly work, and sort of trying to carefully deconstruct everything. So from that side of things, I've always been interested in sort of more of the method. My mum and dad always went to see Darren Brown when he came to the local theatre near me, and we were always promised, my brother and I, when we were younger, that we'd end up going to see him. So that's always been in our lives as well. It was always mum and dad are going to the theatre, and my Auntie Kathy or Auntie Audrey are coming around to look after us. My sort of, I'd say my biggest thing that sort of got me into magic was the programs that Dynamo would do on television. I used to be absolutely obsessed. I would watch them for absolutely hours, and the fact that I've met him now a couple of times, and he, acknowledges my presence is still something to me that is just absolutely bonkers. But I'd say he was sort of a massive, massive part of me fully getting into it. But it all started because I love films, absolutely adore films, and I'm a massive, massive Marvel nerd. So while I was doing my A-levels and sort of to the start of COVID as well, I just got really bored. And while I was doing my photography A-level, we had a dark room set up at the school that I went to. And I would spend a lot of my time in the dark room, even if there sort of weren't prints and things going on. I would be in that room, I'd be set up, and I'd be having a great time by myself, have my headphones on, and I would set up my laptop and I would have Thor Ragnarok playing. I do not even want to think about how many times I've seen that film now, but just an incomprehensible amount of times. So I watched that point to the point where I could quote it. I didn't even need to look up, and I'm literally just reciting the lyrics. And one day I'm watching it at home, I'm bored. What do I put on the telly? Oh, let's watch Thor Ragnarok. Why not? I've clearly not seen it enough times. And that became the second Marvel film that I could quote for word. The first one was Deadpool. And I was watching it, quoting along. My mum comes into the room and she goes, why don't you consider acting? And I was like, I don't really want to do acting. Sort of, I've just finished my A-levels. Like, the last thing I want to do is sort of go back to school. And so I thought, okay, well, how can I find a loophole? How can I find a shortcut? And I went online. I went onto one of those acting casting websites, and I was applying for various acting jobs. I was sending off self-tapes. I was pretending like I was the most qualified actor in the world. I had no experience. Growing up, I was always so anxious that I couldn't stand on a stage. So I realistically had no experience whatsoever. And I genuinely don't know what possessed me to think that I could do this in the first place. But I was applying for all of these jobs and wasn't hearing back from any of them. And it was really, really deflating. And I saw a job for the next TV stunt magician. And I thought, well, I've already applied for so many, so I'm probably not going to hear back from this one as well, but I want to throw my hat in the ring. And then this is the one that I ended up hearing back from. So the guy said, can you film a self-tape? Here's a script. And the script was for oh my gosh, what's it called? A parachute escape. So you put on various backpacks, and it was to do on America's Got Talent. The fact that I was filming a self-tape for America's Got Talent, I don't think dawned on me. But I set it up in this room, sort of back there. I had a tripod on like a really sketchy chair and set up a load of cardboard boxes numbered 1 to 5. And I think it clicked sort of as I was doing it. I was like, Simon, what do you think? And I'm like, oh my God, Simon Cow? Okay, wow, okay. And yes, I filmed the tape, somehow managed to learn this script, sent it off, and the guy got back to me and said, you're not nervous enough for someone who's going to be throwing themselves out of a helicopter. And I was like, okay, I don't really know how to do nervous because I'm nervous doing this. So I thought I'd probably had enough nerves filming the self-tape. But I just thought I wasn't sure. So I filmed another version, sent off another self-tape to this guy, and then he went, yeah, okay, let's meet up, let's do this. So we ended up filming this parachute escape with actual rucksacks in a park near me, and the rest is history. We ended up sending up the clip to America's Got Talent, and they said we are not doing the extreme version, which is where that trick would have gone on. It was the year that Jonathan Goodwin had his accident on the show. That was when I would have ended up being on that show. And they said, can you create something else? We're still interested in having you. So back to the drawing board. And then that became an acid escape. And through that, I actually spoke to Jonathan. I reached out to him and I said, what do you think? And he gave me some really good advice that then ended up going into this trick. And yeah, the first thing I ever did as a magician was on America's Got Talent. So yeah,
that's such a wild starting place. But any sort of profession to just immediately be like, well, I'll just take this to one of the biggest stages on earth. What? How? That's honestly, absolutely insane.
I really don't know what possessed me. Looking back now, I think I should have been having red flags that I'm literally going to meet a random man off the internet. I should be having red flags of all of these random self-tapes that I'm filming. And because there was one that I did, I think it was for someone, it was to play a student in a school for a short film or something. And I literally remember recording this self-tape and I was talking about farting. And I'm like, what is going on? What was I thinking?
The joys of acting, man. The joys of acting. Yeah, but I mean, evidently, just by putting yourself in those sort of weird and wonderful situations, it has opened a multitude of doors that have obviously then shaped the path that you've gone down to where you are today, which is, it's crazy. Especially, as you say, there is somebody who was very nervous, to just sort of go, yeah, why not? We'll give this a blast is insane.
Yeah, because I'd always sort of had that. I'll just do it. I always loved roller coasters. My uncle used to tell me that I had guts of steel because my favorite roller coaster is one of the ones at Busch Gardens. It's called Sheikra, and it holds you at the top for about 10 seconds before it drops you. It's a vertical drop. Absolutely all over it, and genuinely one of the best things of my life. I think I was 11 when I first went on that roller coaster and came back and told my uncle, and I was like, this is what I've just done. And yeah, it said guts of steel, and I'm like, yay, I like that. No.
It's definitely a great trait to have because, as we say, you wouldn't have done any of the other things that you've done today without it. So, and another thing that you mentioned there, obviously you mentioned Darren Brown, you'd mentioned Dynamo. I think it's incredibly interesting to see the different generations of magicians, and obviously the different generations of people inspired by those magicians, because you can kind of tell like what generation somebody's from based on who they watched on TV as a kid growing up. Like some people I've spoken to, I'm like, oh yeah, do you remember when Dynamo did this? And they're like, what is a dynamo? And I'm like, what do you mean? What is a dynamo? Like,
yeah, there's definitely sort of a very specific magical generation who grew up loving that guy, and still love him. You know, I still think a lot of what he does, like I love his social media stuff. I still think he's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I sort of hadn't considered the people who would be my influences, because when I was sort of first applying for that stunt magician job, one of the questions was, who's your favorite stunt magician? And at that moment I panicked and I thought, do I actually know who is a stunt magician? Like I know normal magicians, I know that. But I sort of hadn't considered the depths of sort of these different categories that you could fit magic into. I just sort of saw magic as a whole of, this is all magic. Like if you're doing a magic trick, this is magic. I didn't consider, you know, you've got the escapology section, you've got the mentalism section, you've got cardistry. I just didn't realize sort of how niche it was in the beginning. But I was asked when I was applying for that job who my favorite stunt magician was, and I immediately was David Blaine. Oh gosh, brains like a sieve, honestly. Yeah, David Blaine, because I remember going through YouTube and sort of just watching all of these nuts things that this guy had done. Like, why are you sitting in a box above London? Like, that's crazy. Mum, can we go to London to go and watch this guy? This is crazy. And just the stuff that he did, because he had no fear as well. And sort of growing up, that was a really admirable trait for me. And what I've ended up sort of doing is just I've just collected these different characters. So to actually get me started, because you know, talking about my anxiety, I was so nervous. I didn't know how I was actually going to stand on that stage at America's Got Talent. I got myself into that situation, and it was just the moment of realization of saying to my mum, I've got this, but I don't think I can do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it. So I started seeing a hypnotherapist who I still see today, and probably should drop her a message because I've not seen her for a while. So this is my reminder that I need to message my therapist, Rita. But Rita basically made me put together a list of all of these film characters that I loved, who, you know, I liked different traits of them. And I came back with Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. You know, she's so graceful when she walks on the stage. I liked Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch, just because like the lovability of that character, and that you will immediately take to her as Scarlet Witch sort of before everything. You know, she's come from somewhere, she's somewhere new, she's learning to fit in with this group of people. And it was all things like that that came together to create the person who I am on stage. And I'd say sort of alongside all of the people that I have magical influences, which is crazy that I could say every person on my list of magical influences I have met, and at least one of them I consider to be a very good friend, and that would be Gabrielle Lester. And it's so crazy that these are people who have shaped who I am today, and they've shaped this magical journey. They've shaped this stage version of me, because me talking to you now is not the same version of me who, you know, is on that video on Penn Teller. It's weird. It's really weird.
Yeah, I can imagine it's strange to look back at that and think like what you were thinking back then, and then looking at it now and being like, oh, I actually did that. That was real. And then to go from AGT to then BGT to then Fool Us, like it wasn't a case of this was an accident, I've kind of just fallen into this and winged it. you've very much taken that and ran with it, and you've done some absolutely sensational things, which we're going to touch upon a little later on. And we also touched on your influences there, which we're going to get into now as well. So we're going to jump into our quickfire segment. I said quickfire. This thing is never ever quickfire. So by all means, if you want to sort of talk about the point, please do so. Otherwise, one word answers don't make particularly good listening. And the first one is, what is your favourite sleight?
So my favourite sleight, I've kept it simple. It's the double lift. So the double lift was all of these things that I feel sort of most connected to have a story behind them. So the double lift, I feel like this is now going to be really name droppy. So Curtis Webb helped me devise a trick when we met on the train up to Blackpool in 2025. And it was when I was doing my lectures and we got talking. He was going up to Laura London and I just happened to be sat on the train next to them, and we got talking. And we started talking about what we were going to be doing this weekend and all of these things. And I said, oh, well, actually, I'm not going to be spending a whole lot of time in Blackpool. I'm actually going to be travelling to London. I've booked to see the opening night of Tom Hiddleston's Much Ado About Nothing, even though the actual opening was Monday. But I booked tickets to see it again because it was just fantastic. And I love Tom Hiddleston, as we've already discussed. So, yeah, basically, Tom Hiddleston is to blame for my magic. Well, park that. But yeah, Tom Hiddleston, it is his fault. So the conversation with Curtis, I said, I want to try and meet Tom Hiddleston. I want to show him a magic trick, but I don't know where to start. And he said, okay, well, let's look at this. I was like, okay. And I showed him. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but I got Loki's helmet tattooed on my rib cage, and I said, you know, I'd love a way to be able to work out how to show him this tattoo. And Karen said, well, why don't you just do a double lift? Like, you can, you know, get a drawing of Loki's helmet, and voila, you take a card, you wipe it on you, and the card is blank, and then there's the tattoo. How magical! And I thought, yeah, do you know what? I really like that, because I designed and drew that tattoo. I was able to, yeah, cool, I know. So I put it on a playing card and managed to, because I saw it on the Monday, I knew sort of when was a good time to leave, and it was just as they were bowing. I absolutely legged it through the Theatre Royal in London, Drury Lane, down the side. I've never known such a big theatre to run down the side of when you're trying to get to the stage door of somewhere. So I ran down the side and managed to get second in line to basically wait for autographs for him, and made friends with the girl in front of me who was also an actor. And I'd abandoned my friend Bria in the theatre. So said to Bria, look, just text me. I'm going to save you a space. It's fine. You're going to meet him too. It's going to be great. Hadn't anticipated how long it was going to take Bria to get out, but it was fine. But he came out, and I had said to the security before Tom came out, yeah, I want to show him a magic trick. I've just been made a member of the Magic Circle. This is all really exciting. And he went, oh, yeah, really good, really good. And then when I said to Tom, you know, can I show you a magic trick? The security guy goes, no, sorry, darling, sorry, we just don't have time. And I'm like, okay, well, this is going to take like 2 seconds. I'm taking my moment. So I said to Tom, I just went, yes, so I'm in the Magic Circle. And I've handed him my poster to sign at this point. So this man is trying to be careful signing his signature. I've now got both hands free to work this double lift, you take the card, rub it on my side and go, yeah, and actually, you know, it comes off, and there you go. And his reaction, I watched the video so often, like genuinely half of the views on my videos are probably me just rewatching it going, this is crazy, this is so exciting. But yeah, one of the best reactions to a trick I could have ever have asked for. But you can hear how nervous I am in the video, because I'm literally like, I love this guy and I want to just verbalize how much I love this guy. But I couldn't, so instead I showed him a magic trick. And it went down really, really well. He seemed to like it. Yeah.
Incredible.
So, That's why double lift is my favourite slide.
Got a very, very cool origin story for that. That's really, really.
I
I don't
thought
think
so.
anybody else has been like, this specific performance is why I love this move. It's always just find this move really cool, or it feels really good and tactile. But no, it's cool that it has a story and a much deeper meaning behind it as well. And I
Yeah.
feel like everybody uses the double lift, but it doesn't get the recognition it needs on this.
No, I
Like,
don't
I
think it
think one other
does.
person's mentioned it, and that's it.
Well, the thing is, I'm not particularly good with close-up card tricks. Like my coordination with my fingers is just absolutely diabolical. So the double lift was probably one of the very first sleights that I learned, and came in very, very useful. So why not? Simple but effective. Why not?
Exactly, exactly. And sometimes they're the best things. And I mean, we speak about them nearly every episode, but Ben Earl is a perfect example of just like the most simple sleights can be the most beautiful presentations. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so underutilized. It is not underutilized, underrepresented. There we go.
Yes.
Perfect. Do you have a particular favorite plot in Magic?
So I feel like I'd be doing it a disservice to again not say that my favourite plot is in any card at any
Probably
number.
guess.
And again, would you believe that there's a story behind this one?
Strange that.
Well, I mean, this trick, the any card at any number, my any card at any number, was a trick that I lived and breathed for about 4 years of my life, which, I knew nothing else. So I'd say almost like by default, it sort of has to be my favorite plot. I've seen some really, really clever methods. And a friend of mine, Paul Longhurst, is releasing an any card at any number with a method that I think is so brilliant. It is, again, it's a simple but effective and has a method that I frankly prefer to my own. It is such a brilliant trick, just the any card as a whole, but also Paul's version. But it's it genuinely is an impossible card trick for laymen watching. There is no way that you can do this. Like physically, it doesn't happen. Like it's incomprehensible. And I think because it is so impossible, I think we've established that I like challenging myself in one way or another. So why not pick that one?
That's fair. It is one of those things that, like, obviously there's the whole discussion around being able to describe a trick in a single sentence. Like, that's sort of a big thing in the industry. And this is one of those things where you literally go, you name a card, you name a number, the card's at that number. Like, it doesn't get much more simple than that. But because of
No.
that, especially when it's hands off, I mean, you're using a jumbo deck of cards in your version. There's no sleight of hand there. There's no nothing. So, like, for it to
Yeah,
be
thankfully,
so
we've
clean,
established the sleight of hand isn't a forte. So of course there's none.
unless you're just an absolute genius, but with jumbo cards, not necessarily the smaller ones.
You
No,
never know. Maybe
it's one of
that's
those
the secret.
just really good with jumbo cards.
Yeah.
To be fair, I have seen some absolute demons with jumbo cards doing like the most ridiculous sleights that even with a normal deck of cards is unbelievably difficult. But then you see people doing it with cards that are like absolutely massive, and you just go, "That's not fair."
It's just showing off at this point,
Yeah.
honestly.
Not fair at all. Incredible. Do you have a particular favorite book in Magic?
Yes, and again, this is probably my favorite story, and he's going to kill me for saying this. It's Maximum Entertainment 2.0. It's Ken Webber's book. So Ken sold the book to me after my any card at any number performance at Monday Night Magic in New York, and that was the very first time that we had ever taken that trick anywhere. And the video that we got, because we set up a camera at the very back of the theatre, and it was Ken, it was Michael Chow, and I'm trying to think who else was back there. I think it was Michael Gutenplan as well, who is a lovely, lovely man. And we had them set up at the back. I did the trick. It is the card at the number. And you just hear Michael going, holy shit. Great. Absolutely great. And in that moment, you know, I didn't realize, having never performed that trick to an audience, I didn't realize that the trick had worked. So it wasn't until the show had finished, I'd come out, because I was the opener for that night. I didn't get to speak to anyone until afterwards. And it wasn't until I came out and they were like, what the hell was that? And I was like, oh, okay.
This little thing.
I like this. But Ken spoke to me afterwards, and I had no idea who this man was. Like, he is a huge name, and I have absolutely no idea who this guy is. But he goes, I'd like to give you some notes on your performance. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is lovely. Yeah, by all means, please, thank you. And he takes me to the side and he says, first thing about notes is don't ever do it in front of anyone. And the advice that he has given me that has stuck with me through my entire career is don't be a sailor. And I know that's a really weird piece of advice, but when I was on the stage, I was looking to pick someone in the audience, and the lights were so bright that I'm going like this to see people. And he went, don't do that. Don't, sailors, don't do that. And in every performance that I have done since then, anytime I'm looking out to the audience, I want to go like this to see, but I'm so conscious that I physically can't bring myself to do it. I can't even bring myself to go like this when I'm like trying to block the sun. Like, it's become something that I just physically can't do. But Ken's now a really good friend of mine, and when he gave me the book, we sold me the book. And again, he's going to kill me for saying that, but Ken knows he sold me the book. Yeah, I'm a dead woman after this. So Ken said, the next time I see you, I want you to have scribbled all over this book. And I don't want you to do it in pencil. I want you to do it in pen. I want you to take this on board, and I want it to mean something to you. I was like, oh, no pressure then. Okay. I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to next see this man, but this is, yeah. And the next year we did Penn Teller Fool Us at the same time as Magic Live. And I thought, I've got a feeling I'm going to bring this book with me. So I brought the book, and I was sat reading the book in my room before I went on Penn Teller. And it was we had to go to a different hotel to go to Magic Live. And after my performance, I went to the show, and Ken was there. And I went up to him and I was like, hi, it's lovely to see you again. And it was at this point I realised that this man no longer had any idea who I was. So it was then sort of that really awkward, I was, do you not remember last year I did an any card, any number, and, I'm back, and yeah. And the really funny thing was that I pulled him to one side, as one does when he has notes, and I said, I've got some notes on your book. And he was absolutely flabbergasted, could not believe the audacity of me going up to this established author, magician, well-known mentalist, me going up, yeah, I've got some notes on your books. I found a couple of typos.
No way.
Yeah. But no, he respected it, and he never allowed himself to forget who I was ever again. I assume in fear of embarrassment of me having to go up to him and having another story to tell about him. But yeah, I absolutely adore him. He's the person I'm due a catch up with. But Ken has been absolutely incredible with helping me sort of work out, again, who I am as a performer, and just being a really, really good friend. So yeah, it's crazy.
To get performance notes on the guy who literally wrote the book on performance notes is absurd. And then to go back to him with the book and be like, rather than taking notes about my performance from the book, I've actually got some annotations about where you went wrong. So if you could fix this, that'd be great.
Yeah, just absolutely mortified. But yeah, it's good to know if he ever does a 3.0, I'm going to be credited as a copywriter. So
You missed
yeah,
a full stop
just
right there.
another thing is, I tell these stories and again, I'm like, what possessed me to go up to that man? But it's fine.
Hey,
It's fine.
it's gotten you into some incredibly crazy situations, and again,
Yeah.
stories that will last a lifetime. So, do you have a particular favorite performance that you've seen? This could be something that you've seen on television. This could be something that you've seen in person. Obviously, you mentioned seeing Darren Brown when you were younger, Dynamo, David Blaine. Is there a single performance that stands out for you?
For me, immediately is Russian roulette. Darren Brown's Russian roulette. The I have never in my life seen another performance that builds the tension that you assume they wouldn't be showing it if there was the possibility for this to go wrong. But that there is the potential that this could go very wrong. We could watch a man die on the television, and it is just done so well. I mean, I've got goosebumps even talking about it. Like to this day, it is genuinely one of the greatest performance I have ever seen. I think it's incredible, and the way that Darren just navigates that trick. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it.
How they got clearance from the TV to put that live on air is beyond me. Irrespective
I
of
don't know.
methods and all of that, like, even just like, as you say, the tension, the stress, the turmoil that builds throughout that show. For the people sat at home watching, regardless of whether it's safe method wise, like, still, there's a lot of people going to be sat at home like, we could actually see a guy just gone
But
in
it's
the
it's
next, like,
even like it's even when you watch the YouTube video again, you're still like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? Oh my God. I've I've seen this so many times. I know the outcome, but still, like, the outcome and it is building it every single time. And it's just one of those tricks that I think is just it's so perfect. Absolutely perfect. People are gonna disagree with me, but for me, that is the cherry on top.
yeah. I
That
mean,
is
Darren and
everything.
his team have been producing some absolute behemoths in the industry
Oh,
for the past, like, 20, 30 years. And
yeah.
yeah, I think, as you say, Russian Roulette's one of those ones that just really sticks in your head, especially because of just the plot as a whole, obviously the trick, but yeah, it's just if I remember correctly, the special was like an hour long.
Yeah.
And you knew that at some point it was going to come to this guy putting a gun to his temple. And like,
Oh,
how do you sit with that for an hour and just know like something could go wrong? And then at the end, it's just like sandbag,
and
and you
I'm
just
fine.
go, yeah, it's that like relief, that release of tension, and you're like, okay, I can actually sit back and enjoy this now because I've just held my breath for the past like 56 minutes and I need to breathe.
And then just excited for what this guy's going to go and do next.
Jeez.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't understand how Darren and his team just keep going. Oh, here's this absolutely incredible project that we did. Next year, even better. Next year,
Oh,
better again. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Who have you
I don't
sold your
know.
soul
He's so
to
good.
keep doing this?
So good. Yeah.
Obviously, we spoke
Really good.
briefly about your influences. I am going to open this up to influencers as a whole. So this doesn't necessarily have to be magicians. This could be musicians, could be actors. Um, although I am going to ask you to try and keep it to like 5 or 6, which is going to be potentially very difficult. But good luck.
Yeah, well, if we're talking 5 or 6, I think I will keep it sort of exclusively to magicians because I've got Darren Brown, Stephen Frayne, David Blaine, Gabriella Lester, and Anna de Guzman. So growing up, we've established the Darren Brown, the Stephen Frayne, um, and it's just they they started it for me. People like Gabriella and Anna, who genuinely at the minute they're doing such incredible things. Anna's doing her interviews with Complex, and Gabriella's touring with Now You See Me. These women in magic, you know, when I was starting out, I didn't know how to dress on stage. I didn't know how to talk on stage. I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't know what I wanted myself on stage to be. And again, you know, we have the sort of the superhero influence that came in through my hypnotherapy, but through Connie Boyd's Women in Magic YouTube channel, she had posted a lot of videos of women performing, clips of women on Full Us, clips of just all sorts. And through that, I was able to find Gabriella's performance. I was able to find Anna's performance, and looking at, okay, so what are they wearing? Like, how could I sort of make that my own? How do I understand sort of how they're speaking on a stage? How do I present myself in the same way? You know, how does my humor come across? Because I'm a very expressive person. So I needed to make sure that a version of me that was on stage was still an authentic version of me. Like, it wasn't too distant from myself, even though it's just an elevated, more confident version of myself. But they were the two that really stuck out for me as similar to my age. They're doing these incredible things. Like, Anna's card skills are incredible. Gabriella's wit, confidence, ability to look fabulous upside down, escaping from a straitjacket in front of Penn and Teller. She's great. She's so great. And Gabriella's video was actually sent to me by one of the producers on Full Us, because we were saying, like, what kind of thing do we want to present for me? And Larry sent over Gabriella's video, and I was like, it's Gabriella. I like her. I've seen her. I know her. This is cool. And it wasn't until we were again back at the hotel at Magic Live, the year that we were performing for Full Us, and I was having a conversation with Michael Chow, and I saw this blonde with curly hair walk past. I was like, oh my god, it's Gabriella Nestor. This is really exciting. And properly had like a fangirl moment with her, and Michael introduced us. And at that moment, I was like, oh my god, yeah, I think you're really cool. Just you're so cool. But the fact is now, like, we were texting the other day. This is a girl who I would say is genuinely a friend of mine. And she is still someone whose work I am such a fan of. Like, the amazement that I get. Like, she's just been announced as Canada's Magician of the Year. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. And I'm friends with this girl, and I'm just so stinking proud of her. Like, it's like borderline obsessive. Like, genuinely, I'm so proud of this girl. I genuinely feel like everyone in the world has watched this girl become this incredible magician. Like, she is the Isla Fisher in Now You See Me on stage. Like, that is absolutely insane. And, you know, the fact that I've been able to use the slightest bit of how she is on stage in my own performance and being inspired by something that she did, and, you know, that people sort of saw me and Gabriella as similar in the kind of way of I did driving and she does motorbikes, and it's just to sort of bring that all together is, yeah, she definitely is one of my biggest influences, and someone who to this day I greatly admire.
You got so many cool, like, full circle moments where it's just like these things all just fall perfectly into place, which is either like coincidence and luck, or you just really darn good at getting yourself in the right place at the right time through hard work and determination.
I think it's a little bit of all of the above. But also I am, you know, whether people believe in it, I'm a very spiritual person. I very much believe in manifestation. You know, if you speak it into existence, it's going to happen. And if I'm not the best example of, I've spoken a lot of things into existence. Because, yeah, you know, half of the things I've done just it's insane to even think about. Like, when I was doing all of this performing, I don't actually have like still to this day, I don't have a close-up repertoire. I jumped straight into stage magic, and of all of the things that I've done, I feel like I've almost cheated the system. And with a lot of things, I feel like I cheated the system. So when I was at school, my friends would joke I never used to rehearse or revise for my we used to do German speaking and spelling tests, and we do the same in French. I don't speak German or French. I am absolutely horrific with languages. And the only language I enjoyed growing up was Spanish, but they didn't do Spanish at my school, so I stopped all languages. The only one I can do is English and gibberish. So that's a joke from my mum. She'll be proud that I've pinched that one. So credit where credit's due, I must say. So I always used to go into that classroom and I would get most of my things right. I do not have a photographic memory, but my friends used to call it Robinson's luck. I just had a way of things would work out for me, and it's just, again, like one of the most bonkers things. Somehow I'm lucky, and I'm so grateful for all the opportunities, but as well, I have worked my absolute arse off to make sure that everything I do is perfect. Like the standard of what you see, I've said that trick on Fool Us, it was as perfect, even though there's a story behind it. It was as perfect as it was on that stage because I still can, recite that script standing on my head in my sleep. I can do it backwards. Like that trick, that was my everything. Anytime that I had, I'm going through that. When I was doing Britain's Got Talent, anytime I had, I'm going through it. I'm such a perfectionist and just have to make sure that everything I do is to the highest standard that I know I am capable of. And it happens in my university work as well. And, if I get a grade that comes back that might be like a 68 out of 100, it's just below a first. And people are like, oh my God, like that's incredible. Yeah, but it's not first. I'm like, I'm still like, where's that other percentage that I'm missing? Like there's so much that I want to be the best, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to be the best that I know that I can do. And yeah, it's probably not healthy, but that's what I have to do.
Well, as I've said many a time already, it's taking you to places that you probably could have never imagined being. So that combination of perfectionism and luck seems to be going pretty darn well so far. So I think
So far,
keep doing what you're doing because something's working. Incredible. We're going to take a little bit of a slight detour before we get into the main crux of the episode and we get a little bit deeper into the questions. And that is going to be, what is your magic industry gripe? Do you have anything that you believe doesn't belong in the magic industry, or something that you maybe think's overdone or overperformed? Is there anything that stands out to you where you go, not a fan of that?
I'd say the oh, hang on, sorry, I've just got a message to say my internet connection's unstable. Can you still hear me okay?
I was going to say you froze for a second, so
okay.
We'll take a I'm going to also take a second to have a drink as well.
Okay, yeah, probably me too. I'm so sorry. I'm doing so much waffling. I'm conscious that half of the stuff I'm saying may not be making any
waffle
sense
away.
whatsoever, so.
No, it's been a very fun conversation so far. So waffle away by all means. Everything that you said's been good. So you're not just waffling for the sake of waffling. So that's fine.
Okay.
Yapping is permitted on this podcast.
Good, because I'm a professional. So yes, George, can you ask me the question again, and I can give you an answer from here. Just to give you something to cut out. Practicing for you and everything, whatever.
Is there anything in the magic industry that you think maybe doesn't particularly belong, or anything that you maybe think's overdone, overperformed? Is there something that sticks out in mind where you think, not really a fan of that?
I mean, I feel a little bit hypocritical saying this to someone who's been on Fool Us, but I really like a lot of the exposure around magic sort of really rubs me up the wrong way, because I don't know, Ashley Goodwin spoke a lot about this when she was on here. The fact that social media now isn't, it's almost not a positive place for magicians to be, because people are just wanting to, oh, I know how that magic trick was done. Like you just did this, and it's like, but that was a really magical moment for someone if they've just watched that. And it's almost the videos where people are, they're not even doing it to teach people. I think there's a very fine line between, showing people how a trick works and doing it positively. Like a lot of my close-up tricks came from people like Yannick and then Katerina, who they teach people how to do these tricks and like fun things with cards. But there is a very, very different side to that, where people are, oh, here's this trick on stage, and with a straight face, they're just going, yeah, but it's actually just this. Like, it's not impressive. And that, it really upsets me, firstly, because there could be some people who are watching that performance in the same way that, we've watched magic performances and we've seen like, oh my God, like that's incredible. And like growing up, the exposure that you've had to magic, and the fact is that you have watched things that have amazed you. You have watched things that have stuck with you. And there are some tricks that I have decided that I never want to know how they're done, because of how valuable that moment was to me. The last thing that I want is to be scrolling through Instagram one day and Instagram goes, oh, here's this video of, here's this person on stage. Yeah, but it's just this, isn't it? It's not impressive. Or you've got the people who are reaching around and they're ruining someone's magic trick. And it's just like, it's not necessary. And again, like saying this as someone who's been on Penn and Teller, but the culture around that show, like the treatment from Penn and Teller themselves, I think they go about sort of saying, we've got you in a really respectful way, rather than, rather than just going, oh, it was done like this. That wasn't very good, was it? I think they do it in such a way that still is entertaining, is polite, and at the end of the day, you're going on that show to sort of fool a magician. But I think now there's such a, like, people without a doubt are obsessed with magic, and I think that obsession is almost unhealthy online. So I'd say that's probably my biggest one, and again, partly because of the amount of, so I haven't spoken about this. So I actually had to turn my comments off on my video on Fool Us, and I was advised not to, because the comments obviously boost interaction.
Yeah.
But I was getting so many hate comments. I was getting like grown men arguing in the comments of my video. I was receiving death threats for that performance. People were telling me that I didn't deserve this. I'm a magician who's performed a trick on Penn and Teller. Like, the negativity that came from something that should have been so positive, because of people thinking, we need to know how this trick is done. And I don't know if it was just because of the fact that I was on a show like Fool Us, but now I'm seeing sort of a rise in, anyone who's been on Britain's Got Talent. Oh, that wasn't really good because it was just this. Or, the same for America's Got Talent. They're ripped apart in these masked videos. And I just wish that those performances, and that the people that have the confidence to go on those stages, they are supported with their magic. And there are people that say, because it was like, there were so few comments of people going like, this was amazing. And that was my first televised performance. Like, I want people to be supportive. Like, I was so worried about going onto that show and going on and doing that. And then to sort of be met with that negativity, I was absolutely distraught. And even though I was told, don't read the comments, you read the comments. It was everywhere. I was getting sent various magic forums of people ripping me to shreds. I was being sent just it was everywhere. I felt like I couldn't escape it. People are tagging me on various things on Twitter. Like, I was being harassed for performing something that people didn't initially understand. And that's great. Like, from a magic point of view, that is incredible. And to be doing that, I mean, I think I was either 20 or 21 at the time. To be doing that at such a young age is incredible. And I think people almost were reluctant to admit that what I'd done was incredible, because not only am I a woman in magic as a minority, but also I have fooled Penn and Teller and done something that most magicians can only dream of. But yeah, I mean, I still get comments on YouTube videos where the comments are turned on. But just in that moment, and after I turned off the comments, people go, yeah, well, if the trick was any good, the comments on the video would be on. And it's like, but I couldn't have something that was so special to me basically be brought down and destroyed by facilitating somewhere where grown men could go and argue. Yeah. So yeah, from that side of things, I think things with exposure can end up being really, really toxic and impact people really, really negatively. Because had I not had the support system that I did, had I not been able to go and see my therapist, had I not had my mum, and basically been able to go, this is awful, what do I do? And it was my mum who said, just turn off the comments. And but mum, this is gonna, like, my video is not gonna do well. Like, I could get millions of views on this. I could monetize my account on YouTube. Like, this could be the start of something for me. And she goes, yeah, but it's not worth this. And the advice that my therapist gave me was protect your peace. So the comments got turned off because I frankly just couldn't cope with that. It was awful. Like, I've struggled with my own mental health for so long, and just to have that as well. Just, I don't know. I always thought that the magic industry was a much more positive and uplifting place, and in certain circles it absolutely is. Like, I've met some genuinely incredible people who are now really, really good friends, but equally I've seen a very, very nasty side from, faceless accounts on the internet, which is just not great. But
yeah, I definitely think a lot of that is grounded in both ego and what's the word? Can't think of the word, but I think it's a lot of people being like, that fooled Penn and Teller. I know how it's done. And it's very much just like it's just them bigging themselves up by belittling other people, which is horrible. And then to see not only obviously social media doing that, but then to see mainstream media doing it as well, often after magic performances especially, the next day in like newspapers it's like eagle-eyed viewers caught bum bum bum. And it's just like, what is the need? I understand drama creates story, but nobody ever thinks about the drama affecting the person that the story's about, which is horrible.
And that's one of the things, sort of, as you know, I'm studying journalism, I'm a freelance journalist at the moment. It's something that I'm so conscious about. Like, I want my stories to be, obviously, if I have to cover a hard-hitting story, like through my degree, I've done, I covered the arrest of Prince Andrew, which obviously it's a major thing, and I've done court cases, I've done inquests, and aside from the serious stuff, like, I want to uplift people. I want to produce work that, people who have contributed to the work go, oh, do you know what? That's lovely. Like, I had an article that made the paper the other day, and it was my very first article that made the paper. Shameless promo. And very, very proud of it. And I sent it so it was about a local school near me changed their name after 70 years, like for their 70th anniversary of reclaiming an old name. And I was looking online at those videos, sort of, that they'd done, saying, these are the stories that are in our paper this week. And people in those comments are going, oh, this is lovely. This is great news. This is brilliant. Like, I remember when it was this. This is so positive. My grandchildren go to this school. And that is what I want to be creating. Like, I never want to be the person who writes a story and tears someone down. I want to be the person that produces the facts. I want to be the person that essentially creates a new a new attitude towards journalists, because there are so many journalists out there who are doing a proper job, who are, you know, ethical, who are just genuinely amazing people. And I'm trying to find a way to sort of say, we're not the slimy people that you may have seen in programs. It's what my dissertation's about, that I'm writing next year. And I hate how negatively things can come across in the media. And sort of as a journalist, I always feel like partly responsible that can happen to people. And obviously, yeah, like if that is something that someone has caught, fine. If it's factual, fine. But I would always consider, what impact is this story going to have on someone's mental health? And that would be a huge factor in me, because of my own experiences of, I wouldn't run that story.
Well, unfortunately, not everybody thinks that way, which is horrendous to even think about. But yeah,
I wish they did, though.
Yeah, the world we live in is it's literally like the Wild West. Like, it's absurd. But hopefully, through more people getting into positions of like a stature where they can make moves and they can make waves and they can reshape the way that is, then I think over time it will gradually get better. But it's one of those things that's just like an ongoing thing that needs to be really focused on. But I think, do you think there's a place for exposure within Magic if it is, as we say, like educational and supportive, and it's more so like, look at how cool this is, here's your entry into Magic, as opposed to just being like, I know how this person did this trick, therefore XYZ. Obviously, if you have the correct permissions and you're crediting and all of that jazz.
Yeah, I think, and I know I've had a lot of conversations with people about this, because my learning was Ekaterina, Yannick. I'm watching these YouTube tutorials. I'm trying to learn from these people who know what they're doing. And I know there's some people online, they teach things with the wrong methods. And, before you do something, you might learn something, you show someone, and if someone knows what they're talking about, they go, oh, that was interesting. Why would you do it? Why would you do it that way? Here's the way that I know, but your way's really interesting. So I think, again, there's a very, very fine line between showing people magic tricks for the sake of just getting YouTube views and, creating these things to bring other people down. But I think the supportive videos to get people into Magic, because now everything is moving online. Magicians like us, we might go to a book, but more often than not, we might go, oh, I wonder if there's someone's done a tutorial or something online. Or you can get all sorts of things on the internet, like Penguin do like video tutorials, but you have to pay for them. Like that's a much more ethical way than things that are just like available on YouTube. And I don't know, it's, again, like I've used them, so I almost feel like I can't talk negatively on them. But I think it's much more of the videos that you can tell that people are just doing it to go, Magic isn't special, but for a lot of people it is.
It's so crazy that a lot of the people doing this as well are magicians.
That's why they wear a mask,
Like,
because they know that
even
there
the people
are so
that
many
aren't,
magicians.
like, what?
Yeah, it really irks me. It really irks me, because I think I've had at least 4 videos made about my any card at any number that have all been sent me going, is this right? Is this right? And I'm like, I'm not going to tell you, am I? No, clearly not. And it's, I mean, yeah, some of the things that people did say about that, but yeah, it's, I think because it's happened to me, and sort of the hatred that came from the exposure, I think, yeah, if the teaching is done in the right way and the teaching is helpful, is supportive, then I don't really see a problem with it if it is using it as a tool.
Yeah. I think it's something that's slowly crept into the industry in person as well. Obviously, by all means, like, can give notes, support, uplift. But I feel like unsolicited advice has also become something that's like, oh, you should have done it this way, as opposed to being like, have you thought about doing it this way, or like, do you want to discuss how like we could bounce ideas and try and make this better, or if you have a conflicting opinion, let's discuss it, as opposed to just being like, you did it wrong.
Yeah, no, I'm really thankful, and I'm really fortunate to be surrounded by people who are still constructive with what they're saying. And sort of if anyone does come up to me and go, yeah. I think it was my mum sent me something. I think it was a quote that was attributed to Robert Downey Jr. I have no idea whether he actually said this. Probably should, because I love him. But yeah, it was, if someone tells you something that you don't agree with, say yes and go and do whatever the hell you were going to do anyway. Because you can let that person, if they're going to give you that unsolicited advice, if they're going to be incredibly unhelpful, you can just go, great, thank you so much. Yeah, I will. No.
Yeah, otherwise it creates unnecessary arguments, and then drama is far too much in the magic industry as a whole anyway, so the less of that we can create, the better. Which
Yeah, definitely.
me coming in here with a what's your magic industry gripe probably isn't helping, but
I don't feel like it's too out there. It's not. I'm not controversial, I don't think, with saying that a lot of the exposure videos and sort of the culture around that is just
100%. It's been such an interesting question to ask, because you get a lot of people with very different opinions on exposure, especially. A lot of people have very different opinions, especially people that are doing like tutorials and things like that. So it's interesting to hear both ends. And it's weird. My perspective's changed massively. And I'm in this like weird grey zone in the middle where I'm like, I agree with that, but I also kind of agree with this as well. Which is probably, in all fairness, the best place to be, because then you're taking on everything as opposed to being like, this is absolutely right and you are absolutely wrong, which is never good for anything. We're going to hop into some more slightly more in-depth questions. I say that like that was remotely quick fire, but we knew that was going to happen anyway. It happens every episode. This next question is, obviously you have a ton of hobbies and a ton of professions. You've got journalism, we've got modeling, presenting, acting. You do so much. How have these other aspects of your life shaped your magic as a whole, and vice versa? So have you taken anything from magic and applied it to the likes of journalism and acting, and how have they worked in terms of like performance, business, social media, stuff like that?
So I'd say that it's much more of the magic has helped me with all of these things, because the magic has helped me with confidence. It's helped me with talking to people. It's helped me with being able to stand up in front of the class and deliver a presentation on the work experience that I did last summer. Without all of that, I would be a completely different person. I was always quite I've always been quite outspoken, but I've always been very, very anxious. So anytime I have been outspoken, it's sort of been from like a very, very insecure place. But with the magic, I've been able to channel that person that I am on stage when I'm giving a presentation. I mean, the acting was essential for helping me learn scripts, but by the time I went to drama school, I had already done quite a significant chunk of the magic. And I got accepted into the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire for a short 6-month foundation course. And while I was there, the magic had helped me be able to stand up and again deliver this script to people. I knew what I was doing. I was able to choreograph these moves and, you know, in various Shakespeare things, like work out, this line is supposed to be sharp, like this is you're delivering this with almost the idea that you are going to be poking someone, or this idea is going to be a slice. And then looking at how my magic had changed and how I presented things after that, I was then thinking, how would I do this line? Would this line be a poke? Would this line be a slice? Like it's so interesting, because I haven't ever really thought about how much I could I could give to each of my careers. But again, the modeling, having to pose, having to put myself out there and sort of be quite uncomfortable. And again, I've been really fortunate to have some really good photographers, and another photographer that I consider a friend, Rosie. There's so much with her. Like we actually did a photo shoot just before I went to drama school, because we had the big conversation of, I don't know if I want to continue with this magic. Like there were so many factors that went into so many decisions in my life. But ultimately, what I've always wanted to do is I want to be performing card tricks for people and interviewing them. Like I basically want Anna de Guzman's job, but I'm not coming for it. I'm absolutely not coming for it. I think what she does is a fantastic job. But I've always wanted to meet people and to be able to give them a piece of that magic, and to leave them with an experience, and sort of in an exchange of some kind of like, you're giving me some wisdom, or maybe it's a card trick where the grand reveal is there's a question on this card. And I should probably preface, if anyone steals any of these ideas, these are intellectual property. I'm declaring them now. But this is the sort of thing that I've always wanted to do. So then going on to study journalism from acting, from magic, is all sort of trying to build up to this career that I kind of see for myself. But at the same time, like I'm doing a lot more like work with different companies with social media, and I've had some incredible opportunities. And I'm working in I've got a volunteer position with the athletics in Birmingham in media operations, so I'm going to be dealing with journalists from the other side, and I did that at the same time from the rugby last year. There's just so much that I'm basically just a very indecisive person. And I think a lot of what I'm trying is me trying to figure out who I am, both as a person and as a magician, because I still have so much love for magic, but with everything that I'm doing, I just don't have the time to dedicate to this art form. And again, I've mentioned like how much of a perfectionist I am. I don't feel that I can give all of my energy to the magic and to any content creation that I'm doing while I'm at university at the same time. Like, so I'm currently on summer, but I'm working on a project at the minute with Great Britain's national fast pitch softball team. And that is my everything at the moment. That is absolutely my everything. But when I start back up at university in September, that brain is going to get paused and my university brain gets switched back on. Like that then becomes what consumes me. And that's always the way that things have been for me. Like I basically just lock myself in this room. Like I've got a law exam that's coming next year. And I will be up here revising from basically November all the way through to January when I do that exam. My mum will not see me. I will come downstairs for food, or I'll just stay up here and she'll bring the food up to me, and I'll pause. She'll sit on that chair and we'll just have a little bit of a chat, and she'll say, how are you doing? Like, what's going on? And I'll fill her in quickly. And then I'm literally like back, lock in, and I'm getting all of this done. But yeah, it's at the minute, I wish that I was giving more to the magic at the moment. I feel like I am doing my magic a disservice for not putting in the hours and not practicing the smaller tricks, because so many people have tried to help me and have offered to, sit with me and make sure that I can put together a close-up repertoire, because I would love to be out performing. Like I'd love to be out gigging with people, and I'd love, the end goal is basically to be back on a stage. But at the moment, for me, and sort of trying to come up with that backup plan that everybody needs, like at the moment, that's what I'm having to work on. So yeah, I don't know. It's definitely an interesting question. And I don't feel like I've really given you a solid answer, but for me, a lot of things are up in the air, and I've basically taken things from everything and put them into each other.
It's so unbelievably interesting that you can just like take all of these different things and just go, okay, this is my focus now. I'm just going to put these on a back burner. We're going to let them sort of boil away. And then when I come back to it, I can do that. Because my head works the complete opposite. And it is, I have 7,000 different things on. And I am in every single pot and pan trying to keep it all afloat. So, yeah, it's interesting to know that you can still do all of these things while simultaneously being able to focus and give your time and attention to just one of them without everything else just going absolutely crazy. So I maybe need to take some of that advice myself and be like, okay, it's okay to leave things on a back burner. You don't have to do everything in one day. So
Yeah, it definitely takes some discipline. But I've decided recently, because I used to be, everything has to happen all at once, and I'd get myself in such a state. I'd be so overwhelmed with everything. And this is basically like, I'm just trying to prioritize myself. I'm trying to prioritize my stress levels. I'm trying to just give everything. And if everything is in one area, it's always going to be better than if I'm, also working on with the journalism and mortar modelling, and I'm going to London every weekend and I'm doing the magic and I'm spending hours doing here, where I should be spending that time working on a TV package that I'm supposed to be working on for my degree that's going to be graded. Because at the end of the day, I'm paying for university. Like I should be making the most of this opportunity. I should be, putting all of my efforts into this, because this degree is, I'm only on this degree for another year or so. And after that year, I can then do whatever I want, basically. But I took a year out to do magic, and then sort of all my education's kind of slotted back into place. But I'm older than a lot of people at university, and I think the fact that I am older and the fact that I've worked out that this is what I need to do in order to get me through this course without dropping out, it is basically just park that. Just park it. It doesn't feel great to park it, and I desperately want to get back to everything. Like, I've got a guitar sitting behind me as well. I started learning guitar last year. I inherited a guitar from my granddad when he passed away, and it's just everything there, that there's so much that I want to do, but if I'm doing all of that, I'm then putting off the inevitable dissertation that I have to write, the radio package and the scripting and everything that I have to do. And it really is just about sort of trying to manage my fun, and whether that makes me sound like a bit of a boring old fart, but this seems to be working. So
yeah, it's finding that balance. I think it's very easy to think, oh my goodness, I need to figure out what I'm doing because I have a finite amount of time. But at the same time, like, if we live by statistics, I've got a long time to go. Like, I don't need to be rushing all of these things. And yeah, I think maybe sometimes it's easy to just go, shit, everything needs done now. As opposed to being like, everything can be done when it's ready to be done. But how do you then balance your perfectionism? Because I'm also very much a perfectionist. How do you then find a balance between that and sidelining projects? Because I guess, actually, having said that, surely by sidelining the projects, you then give yourself more time to make them perfect.
Yes, but at the same time, I then like properly get into my own head, and I'm like, oh, but I'm doing this and I'm not doing this, and I should be doing this, but I'm like, it's genuinely like a proper battle. So the last university assignment that I submitted was my dissertation proposal. And by the end of it, I was like, I've got a deadline, I've applied for an extension, I've got an extra week to do this. I just want this done. Like, at the end of it, I was sick to the back teeth. I didn't really understand what I was doing. And it was just trying to find a way of, I'm just going to put words on paper and I'm going to get this in. And that was what I had to do to, again, protect my peace. And it's something that my mum says to me quite a lot, because I'd say my mum is probably my biggest mental helper, because she's the one that says, like, she'll say, what's going on, and I'll go, oh, mum, I'm stressed about everything, and and she'll turn around and go, okay, well, what can you do now? And I'll go, oh, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk about it. And then I'll come back and go, actually, I probably should talk about it. Can you help me? But she's really, really good for helping me work out. And I live by my diary as well. And I'm a massive, massive planner. So I try and go, okay, no, I'm going to get this done today. I am going to get this done today. And I'll go to Starbucks and I'll buy a big coffee and I'll plonk it on my desk here. And I will keep that coffee from basically 9 o'clock in the morning. And this is disgusting to admit, like 9 o'clock in the morning, say 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it is like, that's what I need, because that drink, like while I have that drink, I'm working. So I'm almost not drinking it because I'm wanting to keep working, but for me, it's just having those little things that switch on. And again, yeah, some things I'm much more of a perfectionist than others. So again, using university as an example, one of my projects was a magazine, and I was so stressed about making sure that everything with it was perfect, like the design, the layout and everything. And by the time it actually came to writing this, I was just like, oh, do you know what? I don't want to write this. Like, I'm so happy with how everything else looks around it. And I've just got this like placeholder text of gibberish. But it's, yeah, I'd say a lot of my management is down to my mum. Because, you know, she's so proud of me, and she genuinely is my biggest supporter. But if I need to do something and I say, oh, sorry, I'm just going to go and do this, she's like, I don't want to tell you what to do, but I'm just going to politely suggest. And I'm like, damn it, Mum, you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that when a parent's like, you should probably do this, and you go, you can't tell me what to do. Yeah, okay, fair. That should definitely do that. Obviously, in such a short amount of time, you've done things that many performers would absolutely dream of. As we've mentioned, Penn Teller, BGT, AGT, lecturing at Blackpool. Like, there's so many of these things that you've done. Were these strategic decisions, or were they just sort of things that led into one another?
So, I mean, as much as I'd love to say that they were strategic, I do think that it was one thing led to another. So the guy that I used to work with, basically, like the entire thing that he does is just get people on Got Talent and like gets people on Full Loss. Like that's all he does. So I think the fact that I was working with someone like him, it was the first thing I do is America's Got Talent. We do this, we do this, we do this. And it was never, we sort of never said that this is, we're going from one thing to the next and this is, we're quick firing like that. But it just sort of, that's the way it kind of happened. And it almost felt like quite a natural progression. So from America's Got Talent being my first thing, we then had the opportunity to go to New York and do the off-Broadway show, and that off-Broadway show was the Any Card at Any Number. And then from that, I'd applied to be on Full Loss that year, but they rejected me. So I ended up basically working on that trick and then saying, okay, well, you know, I still want to do this trick. Like, can you consider me for next year? And they said, you know what, yeah, fine, we will. So that then ended up being the next year. But before that, in the March, the opportunity to be on Britain's Got Talent came round. I had a really great experience performing on America's Got Talent. And then when Britain's Got Talent came around, the natural thing is I'm British. Every magician wants to be on Britain's Got Talent. A show that I genuinely grew up watching. And I sort of, from that, it's a very, very pressured thing of you're constantly just the back and forth with production to get anything on any of those shows. So from Britain's Got Talent, I'd done them, and again it was another thing of I didn't make it to broadcast for America's Got Talent, and I didn't make it to broadcast for Britain's Got Talent. And you know, it's just one of those things. It's a similar theme. But then the opportunity to be on Full Loss came around, and obviously from the performance on Full Loss, I then gained a lot of, I don't want to say fame, but for lack of a better word and lack of any other word in my vocabulary at the moment, like fame. And for podcast reference, I'm doing very heavy skeptical quotation marks. I don't know, that then happened, and I was then getting much more recognition in America. Again, being at Magic Live and getting to speak to people, and some of the people there having come straight from the show to go, I was then, talking to people, and they're like, oh my God, we've also just come from the show, we've seen you. And then they're telling people, and then I'm meeting more people. And then when it went out the next year, because we filmed it in, I think it was July or August in 2023, and then it came out in April 24. And it's so crazy that that's so long ago. But after that, I was then invited to lecture at Magic Live. And again, sort of that's the bigger audience. That's the audience who's watching the Fall Us much more than sometimes a British audience would. And then we did that on Magic Live. And then Blackpool said, we also want you to come and do that. So we did that we did a version of that same lecture at Blackpool, and sort of that's how it went. It was sort of one thing led to another, and it kind of felt natural. Like, it didn't feel like this is the way that this should be done. It was just sort of I'm going to start here. Oh, this looks fun. Why don't we try this? Or, oh, hang on, you saw me on this. You want me for this? Oh, this is quite cool. So yeah, it's been a bit of that. So if that answers your question.
It does, yeah, perfectly. It's just such a crazy progression. Like, obviously, saying it out loud, you then go, oh yeah, that obviously makes sense. They naturally just sort of flow into each other. But to just go, you've done all of this in such a short span of time, from the outside looking in, you just go, holy shit, that's a lot of crazy stuff.
It's a lot of crazy, and it's even crazier to turn around and say, I don't have a close-up repertoire, because the amount of people that have come up to me and have gone, we'd love for you to come and perform here, we'd love for you to come and do this. And, I have to turn around to them, and it breaks my heart every time. This should be my motivation to keep going and keep doing all these tricks. But, people want me to come and talk at these things, and people want me to come and do all of this. But so we retired the any card at any number in Blackpool, and that trick is never to be performed again. And I'm very, very thankful that is now proudly in a box, and just, sit in a dark corner, that trick, honestly. But yeah, I don't know. I don't remember where that thought was going now, but
do you think it's something that, like, obviously you've mentioned there's a lot of things on the back burner and you're kind of focusing on one thing. Is it something that you do think you'll come to once everything's sort of eased off a bit with, like, university and obviously journalism and exams and all of that stuff? Is it then something you're going to go, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write up a working repertoire, I'm going to try and get some reps in?
It definitely is. Like, I have such a passion, and magic is something that I genuinely love. I've never been prouder than when I've stood on that stage and I've come off stage and I'm like, oh my God, my world hasn't ended, and I've just been on stage and spoken to a load of people. Like, this is amazing. The fact that I can do those things and to have that boost, and like, there is absolutely nothing that compares to being on a stage and performing, like, something that has been something that you are so proud of. And I absolutely live for that, and I'm genuinely so desperate to get onto that. But I know that, working on anything while I'm trying to cope with university, like, when I signed up for this degree, I had no idea how full on it was actually going to be. So every week we do a news day, and it's basically, we are replicating industry practice. We are going out, we're making a TV package, or we're making a radio package. We're coming with interviews. We're writing these stories. And that takes a lot of energy, especially when, if you come up with 2 stories that week and it's like, oh, bugger, okay, well, I've got these lectures on this day, I've got an essay due on Tuesday, and I'm just like, oh, do you know what, I can't. And it genuinely, like, it brings me so much anxiety when I'm actually thinking about, like, imagine if I was also having to learn guitar at the same time, or imagine if I was also having to do my magic at the same time. Like, I'm in such a fortunate position to be able to choose and say, I just hang on, park it, that's fine. But you know, like I've got some friends that work part-time jobs alongside university, and they'll come into the news day and they'll be like, oh my god, I'm so exhausted, I was working until 2 o'clock this morning. And I'm like, I'm so lucky, because I was in bed at 2 o'clock this morning. Like I just genuinely, like, I feel so fortunate to be able to be in a position where I can say that can wait, that's fine. Like, initially I would have jumped on absolutely everything, and I would have been, you know, spinning all the plates with hands, feet, one would have been in my mouth, and like I would have been juggling absolutely everything. But yeah, it has taken that a real shift, and sort of a lot of trial and error of working out, no, I just need to, I just can't cope with everything, because it's not healthy for me.
As somebody who dropped out of university, I completely get it. I completely understand and completely empathize, because yeah, it's absolute carnage trying to balance it all, and then, as I say, trying to spin everything at the same time like I do. I definitely need to work on my discipline and figure out what the hell I'm doing. Just take one thing at a time. So that's one thing I'm going to take away from this conversation, is I'm going to sort my shit out.
Good.
As I mentioned in season 1, there are tons of recommendations from the guests of new tricks, new books, new theories, new ideas that I always want to go back and delve into even more. And in order to do so, I need to buy those products. And where am I going to buy them from? MAGICBOX. That is the obvious answer to this. They have everything that I could possibly need, and the expert knowledge to give me the assistance that I need to find exactly what I'm after. And using code PATCT at checkout, you can grab yourself 10% off your order. That's code PATCT to grab 10% off. On with the episode. Well, obviously, we've mentioned a multitude of times now the whole Fool Us experience. We're going to jump into what I call the annotated Erdnase section, where we're going to take a look at your performance, and then we'll discuss a little bit afterwards about the experience as a whole and how it sort of came about, and we'll see how it goes.
Now, I need some volunteers from the audience, so if you don't mind helping out, can you please pop your hand up just so I can choose someone? It's okay. So, kind of front row down there, and let's go. Glasses, yes please, come on up. So a round of applause for our volunteers, please. Just either side of the table, thank you. So, hello, and welcome to what I like to call the Emily Robinson Hardy experience. So for this miracle, we are going to be using this jumbo deck of playing cards, which makes any sleight of hand incredibly difficult. So in a moment, I'm going to be asking you to name a playing card for me. So please get one ready in your mind, and I will be back to you shortly. I'm going to be asking you to name a position in the deck. So that's a number between 1 and 52. So again, if you could please get that ready in your mind, and I'll be back to you in a moment. Now, the last time I demonstrated this effect, my volunteers got a little bit freaked out. So one of them fell off their chair and the other almost choked on a peanut. So I would like to ask you both to please not react as you experience this. So, you are thinking of a playing card. Please state that playing card now.
6 of spades.
The 6 of spades. And that was a free choice?
Yes.
No one's primed you to say that beforehand?
Nope.
Fabulous. And you are thinking of a number. Please state that number now.
47.
Perfect. Now, what I want you to both do is keep your eyes fixed on that deck. Ensure that these hands do not touch the deck at any point. So, turning the cards face up one at a time, we are going to count to the 47th position. Now, as 47 is quite far in the deck, I'm going to ask you to go quite quick at the beginning. I'll count with you as you go so we don't lose track, and I'm sure the audience will join in with us. You ready?
Yes.
Please begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 39, 40. 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46. Okay, stop. So before you turn over this 47th card, can you please just remind everyone what the card was?
Six of spades.
The six of spades, okay. So I just want to say that if it is not the six of spades, then it is not my fault. I had no say in the card that was chosen or its position in the deck. There's no one hiding underneath the table making sneaky things happen. And although I admit I supplied the cards myself, they hide no mechanical parts and they're not haunted. So with that said, please turn over this 47th card. Show everyone what it is. And it is the six of spades. Thank you both so much. You can return to your seats. Thank you.
So, obviously, a very fun experience for yourself watching that back, I assume.
Yeah, as much as I love the performance, I love the trick, I love the video. Oh my god, it's honestly the anxiety that watching it back brings me, because I'm transported back to that moment, and it's every time I watch it I pick up all of the things that I say. So I mean, immediately it was I said 47th. Like I couldn't get out 47th. Like if you listen back to that section of the video, the 47 doesn't sound right, and it's, oh god, it's just one of those, like I'm just finding ways to see all of the faults in that video. But oh god, yeah, it's one of my proudest.
So.
Oh yeah, but you are your own worst critic, aren't you?
Sure, 100%. Obviously, the experience as a whole must have been absolutely incredible. As you mentioned, you went over there during Magic Live as well, so I can imagine it was quite an exciting trip as a whole. How did the experience sort of come about? You mentioned there that you naturally progressed from America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent, and then obviously to Fool Us. So what was the experience like as a whole?
Oh my god, it was firstly, it was absolutely wicked. I had never been to Las Vegas before, and to basically have the trick that you present be accepted for their 10th anniversary season was a pretty big deal. And for it to be, such a special trick, the trick was inspired by David Berglass, Marvin Berglass of Marvin's Magic, current president of the Magic Circle, his dad. So all in all, it was just a really, really special trick. And to get to be able to perform that trick on that stage, it fills me with so much pride, because seeing where I am on that stage, feeling who I am sitting here talking to you today, and thinking about where I was all those years ago, every single one of those is absolutely miles apart. And it is just, it's so nuts to think that is me on that stage in front of an audience, in front of Penn and Teller, and then afterwards having a conversation with Brooke. But honestly, it was one of the best experiences filming ever. In my sort of before reel, he ended up going out and filming a massive section on the Las Vegas Strip. It was absolutely roasting, and they were setting up everything for the Formula One, and it was like, oh my god, this is going to look so different in like however many weeks this is going to be. Like this is so cool. I'm in Las Vegas. This is so cool. The Bellagio is like right over there. This is so cool. And there were so many things that I really just had to stop and just sort of go, this is a bit of all right. This is pretty cool. But it was my first ever time having my hair and makeup done. It took me, I mean, I don't know how many conversations I had with some of the team, like behind the scenes, going, I don't know what to wear. Like, please help me. And we went through so many different outfit options before we decided on the sparkly trousers. And what production hadn't told me is that Brooke was also going to be wearing sparkly trousers. So that was sort of a really nice just coincidence. And at the end, she says, anyone who wears sparkles gets an A star in my book, or whatever she said. And it was one of those that was just, yeah, okay. But oh my gosh, it's so weird, because I don't remember much of actually being on that stage and performing. Was I the last one to go? No, I don't think I was. I think I might have been one of the first. Um, I don't remember it, honestly. It all like it's all over the place for me. And where you're held, where you're held is basically their storage warehouse. So you're sitting on some sofas and you're surrounded by Penn and Teller's props. You're surrounded by the team that's making more props that are just about to go up onto that stage. And I gesticulate up because you were downstairs, because you Penn and Teller could not know who you were. Like, your identity is kept a secret until you are on that stage in front of them. And it was always really fun, because anytime I went in to check in for an interview or to go and do some filming, someone would always have to radio through and go, "Are we good? Are we? Is this okay? Like, can we send her through?" And you had to be escorted absolutely everywhere, just in case you had to dive behind a curtain or be thrown into a room and have the door slammed, so that everything was all incognito and secret. But it was weird, because so that was during just towards the end of COVID. So just before I actually went downstairs to perform, I had to do a COVID test. So I'm then sort of worrying that, like, oh my God, like what's my voice going to be like? Am I going to be sneezing? Like, how soon am I going to be put on? Like, what's going on? What's the running order? And there were so many factors in that moment that were just so out of control. And it was just absolutely bonkers, and genuinely like a really unfathomable thing to talk about and to say. But yeah, I just remember we were downstairs, and I've got photos of it on my phone from the blast off routine that they do, where they then reveal how it's done. You had the real one, the real one, the one that wasn't see-through at the back with all the heads and everything, and then the clear one was just in front of it with all the cloth and everything. And it's just like, these are that props. Like, this is so weird. And we had, so one of the guys that was on the show that, because you film with people who you aren't necessarily put on a show with, giving you the secrets of the show. And one of the guys that I was on the show with was Joe Diamond, and Joe actually did a tarot card reading with a deck of playing cards on a Penn and Teller poker table. And it's just like little things like that, like some of the other people that I met as well, the Cosmic Romantics, who are now very, very good friends of mine. Elizabeth and Eric, they're such lovely people, and they made that experience so much better. But it was like, all of the people that I filmed with on that show, we built such a special relationship. And, you know, falling Penn and Teller and coming downstairs, you're then not allowed to tell anyone. And it was sort of almost trying to judge from a conversation, because you couldn't express everything. So it was just sort of being able to go up to them and like collect my bags and being like, "Okay, bye guys, I'm really happy." And they're like, "Okay." Just it's something that you can't possibly understand unless you've experienced it. But it really is like one of the most bonkers things, because everything has to be a secret. It is so hush hush, everything with that show. But yeah, the actual filming of that was so slick, so well managed. Yeah, it was good fun.
One thing I've never really spoken about with other magicians, I've certainly spoken about this when I've gotten back to work after doing like runs of stuff, is how do you then go from being on stage, being in a warehouse with all of Penn and Teller's cool stuff, to then back into a lecture hall, watching a lecture? Like, how does that feel?
I mean, so I'm trying to think what like time in my life, like what was going on in 2023. It was just before no, it wasn't. Oh my gosh, I don't remember what time in my life it was. I was doing something. I think, yeah, it's because I did. So I did my A-levels. I went to college because I only did 2 A-levels to get my UCAS points up, because I thought I wanted to go to university, but kind of changed my mind. Then I took a year out to do the magic. Then I went on this 6-month short foundation course at drama school. And then the September of that year was me starting at university. and I just can't put together. I think
Where Penn
I
and Teller
was,
fit into that.
yeah, I think that September just after I'd filmed was at drama school. So it wasn't too dissimilar of
Yeah.
like that's the environment that I've been immersing myself in, and the lectures at drama school are very, very different to the lectures that I was having at you know, where I am now. Like we'd go in one day, we'd do zip zap boing, which oh my
Sensational
god,
game.
yeah, and it was with one of my lecturers there called JP, and I absolutely adore JP. He was my Shakespeare coach as well, and he did the improv classes. And it was like, if we ever had a tie, you do a moo off. Who possessed? What? What do you mean? I was in my classes and I was mooing at people to try and get them to laugh. Like, yeah. So I think that time and that atmosphere was like the most perfect place for me to go. But also like that time at drama school was also instrumental in sort of me working out that maybe acting at that point wasn't the right time or place for me. And then I thought, okay, well, you know, I can kind of mix it all together in a nice little bowl, and why don't I sort of try journalism and then find a way, maybe further down the line I might return to acting or what, I don't know. But you know, I met one of my best friends at Birmingham. Her name's Bria, and yeah, she was the one that was with me when we saw Tom Hiddleston, and I'm forever grateful for that opportunity that I had. But yeah, it's crazy because I was, you know, I just filmed on Penn and Teller, and I'm back in England, and I'm not allowed to talk about it. And I'm starting drama school as a normal person. Like,
What experience do you have? Nothing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No,
Redacted.
Sorry, ADAs, can't talk about anything. Nope. I'm as normal as it gets. Yeah. And it was I think I finished in the March, and then it came out in the April, and everyone was like, "Oh, so that's why you were so secretive." And I'm like, "Yeah, sorry."
So did the performance as a whole go? Was it the perfect ACAAN? Was the performance as a whole as perfect as you'd like it to be? Being a perfectionist, as you'd mentioned.
I'd love to say yes. I really would love to say yes. But unfortunately, I'm not being honest. So yeah, the short version is we did a lot of trial and error of working out what would actually work for that trick. So we worked out that there were movements that I could add in, excuse me, that would help the trick with its fluidity, and to ensure that all of the, speaking very carefully here, all of the additional external factors that needed managing were managed. And it was, you know, certain things of that were my idea, and just like subliminal, like body language cues and indicating certain things. And that's all we're going to say on that before I get myself into trouble.
Dig a hole.
Yeah, we're gonna stop digging. But no, so the perfect ACAAN. I mean, I've already said that I pick that video apart. I listen to the way that I speak in that video, and there's things that I say, and I'm like, I wish I just said, you know, 47th properly. And it, you know, trying to count to 47 when I am overwhelmed, when maths is not one of my fortes, you know, when I've also got the pressure of I'm talking in an English accent and all the numbers being shouted back to me are in an American accent, and some of the numbers just like when they were overlapping, it was just really, really funny. So not only am I also controlling a laugh, but I'm just really, really stressed, and all of these numbers are coming out. And I was wearing an earpiece to remind me of the number. and the earpiece has actually died. So all I heard was 47. No, it was 40. And what happened was, because I just heard that, all of the numbers that were coming out of my mouth, I now don't remember what number the guy said. I don't know what number I'm stopping at. So I stopped at the first 46. And I start to do the full reveal of, let's show the card, show everyone what it is. And at this point, I think I'm doing a great job. I do not realise that the card that the woman is now holding up is not, in fact, the Six of Spades. So I stop and I go, okay, well, let's see how close we were. And thankfully, a voice of God comes over and stop. We've got mic problems and camera error. We're going to need to go back and reset. I had to do the whole trick all over again.
Oh, the joys. Hey, this is live performance.
Yeah. So technically, I fooled Penn and Teller twice. But oh my God, yeah. And it was, it's funny because of all of the things that people have come out and said, like, oh, you did it this way, it's really funny because some of the things that, like, it really is, it's such a clever method. And the fact that I messed up the counting rather than the method itself is absolutely mortifying. And again, like, I came off and someone said to me, why don't you just flip the deck over and count down? And the answer to that is because I couldn't work out how many cards I'd have to turn and what number I'd have to stop at to get to 47.
I'd be in the exact same position.
That is the honest truth. Like, with how nervous I was and how nervous I naturally am, I hadn't rehearsed flipping the card over, because anytime we'd done it in rehearsal, we, just pulled a number out the air. We pulled a card out the air, pulled a number out the air.
Yeah.
And that was that. Like, I just practiced counting. I hadn't practiced counting all the way up to 47 before. So yeah, it was absolutely bonkers. Just, yeah.
I mean, it's to be expected. You're in front of live studio audience, cameras, Penn and Teller, stage crew. Like, yeah, it's not exactly a chill environment. It's pretty high stakes environment. So,
and the worst thing is so after I'd done the performance, you then start having a conversation with Brooke. I was talking to Brooke for, I reckon, about 10-15 minutes, because Penn and Teller are going through every possible solution to this trick, and they're on their earpieces and they're talking and they're going, oh, what is it this? Could it be this? Could it be this? Could it be this? And every single time they got told no. Like, these legends of magic had such a long time talking about little old me, and Brooke and I were we were looking at each other, and almost every so often we'd be looking over at them and like, they're taking quite a long time. And Brooke would just, she's so good, and she makes you feel so comfortable on that stage. And just, oh my goodness, yeah.
So this whole time you're stood in front of the live studio audience, just having a casual conversation while Penn and Teller are fighting it out over methods.
Yeah, it was wild. And because it had taken them so long, I automatically think, oh, they've rumbled me. Here we go, they've rumbled me. So it is a genuine, oh my God, because you can actually hear me in the overlay when it says Fooler and it sort of does the wide shot of the stage. You can actually hear me just going, oh my gosh, because I genuinely, there was not an ounce of belief from me that I had managed to fool Penn and Teller. But oh my God, yeah, it's is still like one of my proudest moments. The fact that I was able to get up on that stage and was able to do that. It's
Such
so
a
cool.
crazy experience. Obviously, you mentioned that even being able to get up on the stage and doing that. As somebody who's been very open about having sort of performance anxiety and struggling to initially get on stage in front of people, what advice do you have for those that are potentially holding back pursuing magic? They might like practice it, they might perform it to family and friends. What advice do you have for people that are holding back because they're too nervous to perform, whether it's like actually going out to do tables or getting on stage?
So, I mean, my fix, again, heavy gesticulating quotation marks, was my hypnotherapy that I had. Being able to work with someone who had the understanding to go, okay, well, you've got anxiety and you need to do this. Like, how can we bridge this? And I still have the recording that my therapist let me take, and I listened to it before my performances. And for me, that was what I needed. And it was starting to learn, what is the worst thing that's going to happen when I get on this stage? I am not going to die when I get on this stage. The worst thing that happens might be something goes wrong. Okay, what do I have that I can have in place of everything goes wrong, or I knock this over, or someone says the wrong thing, or someone does the wrong thing? And that has been sort of what happens in America's Got Talent, in Britain's Got Talent, on my off-Broadway performance. Like, it has covered absolutely everything. And being able to work through and make sure that I had considered every single possible scenario. So I guess, I think my advice would be that the scariest thing that you are going to do is stand on that stage. And then when you stand on the stage the second time, you're still probably going to think it's the worst thing that you've ever done. But the reward that you get, the reward that you feel afterwards is unlike any feeling that you will ever have afterwards. It's a mix of the biggest adrenaline rush followed by the biggest crash of your life. It is a feeling of pride that you have been able to do this. You know, if you've got friends, family that support you around you, like, they are going to be so stinking proud of you. And if it is something like Flawless, you're going to have a trophy at the end of this. Like, you have got something that you can look at, you can put it on a shelf and you can go, do you know what? Yeah, I did that. And then it almost makes everything else feel easier in comparison when you've done something massive like that. But I think one of the things that I wish I'd done more of was, I wish I'd got on stage more. Like, I wish I'd found venues to practice that. I wish I'd practiced in places that made me more uncomfortable, because a lot of what I was doing was, you know, we would rent a music studio. It was basically like a dance room, and we would set up everything and we would just go over it and go over it and go over it. I'd be going over it in the mirror. I would be watching the video. I would be reciting to the video. I would be picking apart performances. I'd be sending it to people. I'd be going, look, what do you think about this? Because I just don't know. So I think, yeah, my advice would be, you're just going to have to do it. If you want to do it, if it's something that you think, you can see yourself doing that, if you can see yourself being on any of the Got Talents, if you can see yourself being on Flawless, if you can see yourself being on any kind of stage, you are just going to have to do it. And initially, it is going to be absolutely awful, but it is going to be worthwhile. It is going to shape you as a person, and you're going to be grateful that you did it, I hope. Otherwise, that's really bad advice, isn't it? But yeah, I think
when you step on stage, do you find those nerves dissipate, or do you just kind of black out and then you get to the end of it and you go, "Oh, that happened"? Like, is there
I think it's a little bit of both, because I think I've been thankfully, I have always been so uncomfortable in the shoes that I've been wearing on stage. that by the time I get on the stage, I'm so stressed about being on stage, I forget that my feet are in pain, and I almost forget that I'm nervous. And sort of because that trick became like, it is literally ingrained in my brain, autopilot just took over and words are just coming out of my mouth. And even still, I can quote that because it is like, it is still inside of me. Like that trick just is everything. And it is one of those that, yeah, it's such a crazy thing because I never would have expected to be able to do any of this. At primary school, one of the best examples was we were doing a performance, like an end of year performance of Joseph and his magical Technicolor Dreamcoat or whatever it's called. And that's definitely not what it's called, but what you get the gist, the Technicolor Dreamcoat thing. And anyone who wanted to play, they said, the role is basically up for a gender interpretation. If you want this role, you can go for this role. I was like, okay, I'm going to go for the lead. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. It's fine. All I have to do is sing at the back of the classroom, sing a song. I know this song. I have practiced this. This is great. I can do this. I could not get my words out. And I sat at the back of the classroom and I bawled my eyes out. And I wasn't even standing up. There were other people singing at the same time that I was. And I just couldn't do it. And I thought, okay, fine. That happened. I was annoyed. And a couple of years later was my year 6 performance of High School Musical. I grew up obsessed with High School Musical. Like that was my film. Like I adored it and everything about it. So naturally, I want to be Gabriella. Growing up, I always wanted to be Gabriella. So this is my moment. I'm going to make this happen. This is great. I brought in Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball to sing. And they were doing like individual auditions. You'd go into this room, you stand on a stage and you sing in front of, I think it was 2 or 3 teachers. And I just crumbled. Again, I'm on that stage. I just burst into tears. I could not get my words out. And I just remember being so frustrated and so annoyed at myself. And sort of things like that just kept happening and kept setting me back. So I think when I then thought I have to be standing on a stage and I have to be talking and I have to be performing, I can't break out into hysterical crying. I can't break out into hysterical laughing because that's happened once. And that is a horrific story, which will not be shared on this podcast, unfortunately. I'll tell you after. But it's like, I think that was in my head what I'm thinking. That's the worst thing that's going to happen. I'm going to embarrass myself. But what I didn't realize is that everyone who is watching wants you to do well. They never want to see you not succeed. The second you step out onto that stage, you've got an audience of however many people who have your back. And if the voice of God coming over at Penn Teller doesn't say that absolutely everyone had my back on that show. And I think it's just that initial shift of you're probably going to want to absolutely poo your pants. You might black out the first few times that you do it. I don't remember my performance on America's Got Talent. I don't remember my performance on Britain's Got Talent. I remember, I think maybe a tiny weeny section of my Any Card at Any Number, the first one we ever did. And I just remember what went wrong on Fool Us. But that is the one that people know me for. That is the one that people think is polished and perfect because that's everything that everybody wanted it to be. And I think just that shift of you can do this and it's gonna suck and you are going to feel like you were about to vomit. I still feel like I'm about to vomit. I felt like I was about to vomit when I was just going on stage and talking at the Magic Circle in front of the theatre last Monday. And like there's so many things that you just need to realize that you are not alone in feeling nervous before you step out onto a stage because normal people don't do that. like what you are doing. If you have something that is special enough to be on a stage, you should be confident enough to be able to step out and present it to some people. And you just somehow have to find the guts. And if that is through hypnotherapy, if that is through like various exposure therapies, you can do it. And the most long-winded answer ever. I'm so sorry.
Not a problem at all. That was a great answer, and it's advice that I need to take. I'm very much, obviously, doing like consulting stuff and things like that. It's very much a backseat, and it's a way for me to like put my spin on things without necessarily being on stage, which I almost enjoy it more than performing, but I definitely think I need to push myself to be a little bit more forward as well. So yeah, that's advice both that I need to hear, and certainly I imagine other people at home need it to hear as well. So thank you very much. We are going to move on to the question deck segment. I prefaced this before we started that obviously this deck of cards holds 40 something, because I keep taking cards out when they are used. 40 something random questions that range from sort of prolific life questions to random things. And there's one card in particular there in this deck that I think you would be super fitted to answer. Being a massive film nerd and film buff and like enjoying those kinds of things, I'm gonna just pick your question if that's okay with you. It's just going completely against my segment and how this works, but I don't know why I'm asking permission. I guess I don't know. This is my segment. I'm going to do this. The question is, if you could live in any fictional universe, what would it be? And now that obviously makes sense as to why you would be the perfect person to answer this. But I also imagine that being a massive geek, much like myself, it's difficult to narrow down to one thing, because I think for you, the obvious answer would be Marvel. But I can imagine there's also then other things as well that would crop up.
I mean, for the benefit of the people who are listening to this podcast and can't see me having a crisis, I'm having a crisis. Oh my god.
It's a difficult one to just pick like a single universe. And to clarify, if you were to go into like the Marvel universe or like the Potter universe, you can be who you want to be in said universes. You're not just like a muggle or a random. Like, imagine being an insurance broker in the Marvel universe. Like, that would be horrendous. Nobody wants to deal with all the damage that they cause. So you would have superpowers or whatever it is that fits the universe.
Oh my god, this is an awful question, because I feel like I'm choosing a favorite child.
That is fair.
Yeah, I feel like my gut answer is Marvel. But at the same time, I'm thinking, how cool would it be to be like able to put the magic into real life in Harry Potter? Or like, oh my god, I'm obsessed with Fast and Furious. How cool would it be to like be street racing with Dominic Toretto? I'm like, oh my god.
Maybe this was a bad question to ask.
No, this is a good question, but it's just incredibly difficult because I genuinely hold like so many film franchises as like genuine favorite children, and I don't think I could choose between them. Oh my god, because I would also like Jim Carrey's The Mask is another one of my favorite films, and I'm like, how insane would it be to get to do that? Or imagine if I was like one of the people that got to work with Mrs. Doubtfire, or like just get to spend any time at all with Robin Williams. Like this is like every single film I have ever seen. It's literally flashing past. Oh my god, I mean, I love the Monty Python films as well, and I'm just thinking how hysterical that would have been. Yeah, I think okay. Can
we narrow it down to one?
I think I have to say Marvel. I think I have to, because those films have got me through some really difficult times in my life. They have become like such a source of comfort for me. And also cause for concern of my friends when I tell them that I'm rewatching Infinity War. They know to worry about me if I ever admit that. But it's just like, I think film is such a beautiful art as well, which is like so many films are so personal to me. And there's just so many films are just so beautiful and like well thought out, and they present emotions so well. And sort of I think the reason I'm so torn is because of how all these films make me feel, and sort of how I turn to different films for different things. But yeah, I think all in all, any interaction that I would get to have with Loki or Bucky or Captain America, Steve Rogers, just I don't know, that'd be quite nice, I suppose. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think we'll go with
that. We managed to narrow it down to one. I am going to ask you one more question, specifically because you chose Marvel. And that is, if you could take anybody's superpowers, which would it be? Which, again, is a massive question, I guess. It could be another big...
Another big crisis moment. No, I think this one's easy, because I think Loki... Because firstly, he's always been my favourite. Like, always been my favourite. Like from the second I saw him in 2012 when I watched the film, probably younger than my parents would have liked when it came on the telly. And just immediately I'm like, oh my God, who is this guy? I'm like, he's a baddie, but I'm like, but he's so good. And just sort of how his character has evolved, how we've seen more of his powers come out in the Loki series. And this is me, like, I've got 2 tattoos dedicated to this character. One of them I designed, and one of them's in Nordic runes. Like, we've discussed how much Tom Hiddleston and this character means to me. But it's just like, I think how he sort of overcame everything that he did, like his shift of, I'm a villain and I'm going to burn this place to the ground. This place being the TVA, and again, direct quotes. This is my happy place. I think this is
for anybody that's not a nerd. Just come back in like 5 minutes.
This hole I am going to keep digging. It's just like his shift and being able to see him be like so emotionally vulnerable, and seeing how his intelligence comes across in like particularly the series, but as well seeing his mischief come out as the god of mischief. And like, just, I mean, as well, like I'm a massive like Norse mythology buff as well. Like I did a like mini dissertation on the actual comparisons of what the like traditional prose Edda, it's called, I think, of like the actual Nordic translation of what that mythology believes was actually in Ragnarok, compared to the films and sort of everything that's been like produced in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like this is my bag. Like this makes me so excited to talk about. Oh my goodness. But yeah, just I think the way he's come on as a character and his ending in the series was just so beautiful. And the fact that they're bringing him back in Doomsday. He's obviously like, he's someone that's worth keeping around. Like even Steve Rogers, they sent him to the moon. Like he's just, I don't know. There's something about him that draws people in, and his magic, his duplication casting, and like, oh, I just love it. I love it so much. And like, oh my God, I could sit here and I could give you the first 3 episodes. Like the Loki series and Tom Hiddleston is the reason that I know a monologue in Latin talking about Mount Vesuvius about to erupt. Like this is the extent of this character. This is the extent of this obsession. So I feel like there was always only ever going to be one answer. And I made it overly difficult for myself to pick a franchise, but no, I think it was always going to be Marvel. And I think the character whose powers I want was always going to be Loki. Because green is my favourite colour as well. So
there we go. It all makes sense. It all falls into place. I could sit and geek out about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and just like superheroes and everything in general, and films But I am gonna wrap this up quite swiftly because otherwise I feel like we could be here for the next 3 years. So my next question is, what are your plans for the future? Obviously, you've done so much incredible stuff in the past. Do you have anything coming up that you can tease us with, or is it all knuckling down, getting university out of the way, and then seeing where life takes you?
Yeah, I think it's going to be focusing on my degree and getting that done and out of the way, and then that will give me a lot more freedom to start thinking magic and thinking about how I can get myself back out into performing, because it's like a drug. It's just that rush that you get when performing is just, that is where I want to be. But yeah, I'm gonna try and sort of pick up little bits here and there, and yeah, the end goal is to create a stage show, but no news of that yet, unfortunately. But there will be something sometime soon of me having a close-up repertoire, and hopefully a standard that I deem worthy enough to be out and gig and entertain some people once again. But yeah, I am hoping that within the next year I'm going to be graduating with a degree in multimedia journalism. I feel like that's a bit of a so yeah, sorry. I'm focusing on my studies. I'm so sorry. I'm so boring.
That is perfectly fine, because then the fun stuff comes after that. So that is okay. Last question is, where can our listeners find you? If they want to follow along with your story, what you're doing, where can they keep up to date with what you're doing?
So I am on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I am on X, but I don't really use it. And all those names are Emily Robinson Hardy. If you want to see me inflate my own ego, as most people do on LinkedIn, I'm also on LinkedIn, and that's Emily Robinson Hardy. And I know you can connect, so anyone that wants to reach out that way. You can also contact me through my website. There's a contact us page on my website. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Incredible. Well, it's been an absolutely phenomenal conversation. I feel like this could have been like 3 days long had we have actually gotten some of the conversation. No, I think, to be fair, I think we've kept this relatively tight in comparison to what it could have been. So yeah, we've done a good job in that sense, because I am very much a waffler. So this could have gone on for eternity. But the advice that you've offered has certainly been incredibly helpful to me, and I know it will be incredibly helpful to those listening as well. So again, thank you so much for dedicating your time to joining us today and sharing some of that knowledge and experience that you've had.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been lovely talking to you.
Perfect. For those listening, obviously, if you have enjoyed it as well, let us know. Drop a comment. Let us know what cinematic universe you would live in. Or not necessarily cinematic. It could be books. It could be, what universe would you live in if you could? If you want to, subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Goodbye.